her show, but she really saying no. She believe I gotta slow. Just try to know. I need a moment on an island, no. I need to know where every vibe can go. I need a moment where the time is slow, but she told me slow down on crypto. She doesn't know this is it though. Need a vacation from the big show. Need a vacation from the get-go. She told me slow down on crypto. The market is a give go. I get more. I'm living on the world tour. Score more. Retired from the board floor. I'm more for it. They're telling me to slow down, but not now. The minute that it goes down, I buy out. Got another tour stop, but never with a tour stop. The tour stop. I just try to know. I need a moment on an island though. I need to know where every vibe can go. I need a moment where the time is slow, but she told me slow down on crypto. She doesn't know this is it though. Need a vacation from the big show. Need a vacation from the get-go. She told me slow down on crypto. She doesn't know this is it though. Need a vacation from the big show. Need a vacation from the get-go. She told me slow down on I won't slow you down. I'll try to hold you down. My eyes are open now. Won't slow you down. Won't slow you down. Which way you want it? Which way you want it? Is it real? Is it shit? Which way you want it? Is it real? Is it shit? Why are we in it? For the meals and the beds. All my opponents making deals, chasing trade. This isn't right and I'm the one they want to kill. Which way you want it? Is it real? Is it shit? Why are we in it? For the meals and the bills. All my opponents making deals, chasing.
All right. Hello. All right, guys. Hello, LA. First of all, I would like to thank each and every single one of you guys for coming out. This is particularly a very special event for me, Ian, and the squad because there's a lot of familiar faces. Usually, we're out in different parts of the world, Hong Kong, Berlin. So this is really special. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Diego Lara. I'm a managing partner at 100X Advisors. This is an advisory firm that Ugo, Ian, Dan, Drew, and Costa launched approximately a month and a half ago, right? So far, it's been pretty successful. Have 2 ICOs on the radar that we'll be advising. So it's pretty exciting stuff. For the past, I would say 8 months ago, we started traveling and giving out these little meetups and conferences. And it just started getting bigger and bigger. And now it's really something very special. We've developed one of the most relevant platforms for ICOs to pitch. Unfortunately, we won't be having one today because the ICOs, they have to meet a certain criteria that we look for. But yeah, it's a special moment. Thank you guys for coming out once again. And without further ado, I'll just get straight to it. Ian, please come up, brother.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you. What's up, LA? Ooh, glad to be here again. Quick show of hands. Who came to the last Crypto World Tour event in Los Angeles? No, very nice, very nice. I'm seeing some very familiar faces. I see Wasim in the house over there. All right, cool. Well, all right, let's introduce the panel. Guys, this is probably the best panel we've had here. You guys will see why, right? So with that being said, let me first introduce the team, right? Come back here, Diego Lara. Diego is managing partner, 100X Advisors. Ugo, come over here, Ugo. Ugo is also a managing partner for 100X Advisors. Then we have Felix in the building. So Felix is a cryptocurrency influencer. He basically teaches people trading. He has a crypto academy as well, which he'll kind of share during his intro. And then last but not least, advisor to Chromaway and QuirkChain. 2 very, very good projects in my opinion. Andrew Lee. Hey guys, please scoot all the way down here. All right. Feel free to have a seat. right, so in terms of the agenda for today's event, we'll start just for the next half hour, so just talking about the entire space, just sharing our opinions, some controversial, some not so controversial, about the ETF, the trading, ICO investing, the community building. Then following that, we'll have just an open AMA. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask questions. All right, how does that sound? Sounds good? And hopefully we'll give you guys some golden nuggets to take home, right? Hopefully the next 100x. All right, with that being said, though, as usual, all discussions here are just our opinions. They're not financial advice. Investing in ICOs is risky. Definitely consult a financial and legal advisor before touching any ICO. All right, with that being said, let's do proper intros. Please tell us about yourself, starting with Ugo.
My name is Ugo Nduagoba, but I just go by Ugo. And we, like Diego mentioned, we formed 100X about just a month ago. And we have 2 projects that we're advising. Kind of a little background how I know Ian. We actually went to college together, played, soccer, had fun. We took
I always
chemistry
won in
class.
soccer.
Yes, in your dreams, I know. But yeah, and I left, went to another school, but we kind of stayed in touch. Did some business together, and he told me about crypto actually in March. And in the meantime, I was trading
So
options.
2017.
Yeah, March 2017. I was trading options, and when I saw the returns from crypto, I immediately kind of jumped in because I'm a numbers guy. And since then, we've been kind of working, I've been more behind the scenes, but we've been working together on, ICO analysis and trading and all those things. So yeah, that's me.
Hey guys, my name's Andrew Lee. I was a tech entrepreneur since I was a teenager. I sold my first company when I was 19 to P&G in 2010, which was like a chat software for the workplace, similar to Slack and HipChat. Through my tech endeavors, I networked really, really heavily. I went to USC, made a lot of friends, but somehow I came along someone who told me to buy Bitcoin in 2013. It's a little bit late, but I guess at the time it felt really late because all my friends bought it at $10 and made a killing to $1,000. I found out about it at $300. And when I found out a bit about Bitcoin, people were looking out to help me. Andrew, you can make a killing if you invest in this. And that's why I like crypto over tech and traditional VC. It's really a community about helping each other, and it's really different. It's a communal type industry about helping and being generous. And over the past year, invested in a lot of the highest returning ICOs in the bull market. And basically, my thesis for ICOs is really coming from a developer standpoint. Like, what are the protocols you need to build dApps? So that's my main investing thesis for how I approach the industry.
All right, thank you, Andrew. So as you guys know, I'm Ian Balina. So I'm also a general partner at 100X Advisors, cryptocurrency investor, mainly in ICOs. I share my knowledge freely online via YouTube and other platforms, where I just basically showcase what tokenmetrics is, which is basically leveraging data and analytics to discover undervalued ICOs that ideally will give you a good return. I basically made my name for finding ICOs like Wabi, being part of Icon, and other big names like Dragon Chain. And prior to that, I was working 4 years at IBM. I was working in sales, covering open source analytics in the IBM cloud. And prior to that, I was working in consulting at Deloitte.
All right, guys. My name is Diego Lara. I'm a managing partner at 100X Advisors. Prior to crypto, I was actually into real estate development in Colombia, as well as family-operated business, just daily operations. And then I came across crypto because of Ian. I saw some of his content. It was amazing. I saw his ROI, but primarily became intrigued by his knowledge. So I put in work. I educated myself, like most of you guys did, obviously. And the rest is history. We're here today. We're traveling the world with the advisory firm. We pretty much help structure mature blockchain projects achieve a successful launch with our services. Some of the services is, one of my favorites is actually strategic partnerships. I think that's one of my strongest attributes, just generating a huge line of global network and then just matching every single service provider with everybody who needs the service, right? So it's been an amazing journey ever since. and looking forward to the ETF hopefully getting approved, and hopefully all of us just going to the moon from here.
Hey guys, what's up? So my name is Felix Hartman. I'm the managing partner of Hartman Digital Assets. I've been a trader for about 6 years now. So I've been trading stocks, options for a long time. You know, did my first crypto analyses like in 2013, 2014 in the Mt. Gox days. And what happened then is I was also left trading and went to the startup world, did a crowdfunding platform. We were the first crowdfunding platform to integrate with Coinbase and BitPay. A couple days later, got shut down because of KYC AML issues. But because of that, you know, crypto was always on my radar. And so when I saw the breakouts happening in early 2017, I quit the startup, went all in on crypto. Trading went well, so you know, a lot of my following wanted to learn from me. So I created Crypto Academy, which has since had over 3,000 people go through my trainings. And because you know, like Ian, I wanted to be really transparent about it. I shared every single trade for about 3 months, and in that time span, I outperformed Bitcoin by like 400%. So because of that, people were saying, you know what, don't teach me, just do it for me. So that's why I decided to start my own crypto hedge fund, which is Hartman Digital Assets, which I've started in February now. And on top of that, also helping a couple security tokens, you know, get off the ground. So a little bit of startup advising as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that, guys. Also want to give a shout out to our team in the back. We have Daniel Figure over there, producer. And Justin in the back over there as well, producer as well. So these are the guys who created all the amazing content. These guys are all-stars in their own right. Definitely all-stars. Then shout out to Brian and Ian over here with Membrane. So I keep on getting requests for lots of business development opportunities, right? So Brian and Ian handle my biz dev here in LA and international, right? So basically, they handle our LA office. So if you have any biz dev you want to do with us, speak with Brian as well over there. And then, where's Flo? Shout out to Flo. Please stand up, Flo. So Flo is the new head of retail for Diary of a Made Man. Right, so as you guys know, we're launching a whole new merch line, right? So Flo has been basically doing all that behind the scenes, and now we're about to launch it in about 2 weeks, right? So definitely glad to have him on the team. And we also have some merch to give away, right? So later at the end of the event, right, we have numbers under the seats, right? And the winning numbers will get some of the merch we have over there. Limited edition, first print. Those merch over there will not be sold anywhere ever again. Those were just kind of like the rough drafts, so to speak. But we want to kind of just give them away as just a nice gesture. All right. With that being said, oh, sorry, I forgot. Sam. Oh. So Sam is brand new on the team. So Sam is my ICO analyst. So he helps me research projects, right? So he makes sure I don't miss any all-star ICOs, right? So he basically goes there and just works my spreadsheet all day long, right? All right. Anybody I miss? I think that's everybody, right? Very big team we're building here. With that being said, first question I want to ask you guys. What do you think about the overall market right now? Starting with Hugo.
Sucks. No, just kidding. It's been down since, I guess, March, you know, and it seems to me like what's happening with the market is a lot of people, big whales, you know, made money between December and January. And I feel like these guys not only took our money, but I feel like there's a lot of manipulation now going on. The whole market landscape has changed with regulation. I know regulation is supposed to make the market better, but I think when regulation came, there's just a lot of manipulation going. So it seems like the market is waiting for like a catalyst, something big to happen to, you know, create like a bull market. And I'm thinking ETF is probably the closest to what we think we have.
Do you think it's going to get passed?
I believe the September 30th one, the CBOE, which is actually the only physical one. I think it has a chance of being passed September 30th, but doing further research, SEC actually has the ability to push it further back to February as well. So we're kind of, you know, playing a waiting game on that, but there's a chance that could be passed or further delayed, but I feel like the market is waiting on that. But to be honest, I think even if that's not passed, if there's also another positive sentiment that comes into the market, I believe the market will still kind of go up because Bitcoin went to 20,000 when ETF wasn't in place. So it's kind of surprising to me that now it depends on it in a way. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. And so the number one way I feel comfortable about the price is by looking at basically the community size of crypto and Bitcoin and just getting a feel for how big it is. So like I've been watching it, from a few $100s to $1,000. And I think to myself, like, is the community 6 times bigger than when it was $1,000? I really don't think so. It's like maybe 30 times bigger. And the way I just kind of feel that is just, the conferences, the Bitcoin forum talk posts, like how much Twitter activity is. And to me, it's like, I feel like crypto is 30x bigger compared to when we were at the $1,000 point. So it feels like the price right now is just like a beast in a cage that's just
So
gonna.
you're saying the price does not reflect the community adoption?
Correct. Yeah, I think 30K is more accurate for where we're at now, and I don't think it's really going to be an event-driven run-up. I think it's just going to happen randomly. It could happen next week, month, 6 months. Who knows? Yeah. So yeah, bullish.
Yeah, so I would say it's important to separate the micro from the macro, because from a micro, I would agree with Ugo. Yes, it does look ugly right now, especially once you kind of like look behind the curtain. There's a lot of manipulation you could do when you combine exchange trading with OTC trading and futures trading. If you have the money, you can literally, like, it's very easy to make money. Essentially, you buy OTC, you sell on the exchanges, keeping the price low, which allows you to buy even cheaper again on OTC, and then make even more money with the derivatives. That aside, when you look at the macro, I think it's a better time than probably ever right now for crypto. The reason being is because I see really 3 big developments that are positive in crypto. Because in 2017 we had prices go up like 50x. We had maybe the fundamentals improved by 2x. Because the truth is, most projects were white paper dreams. There weren't any actual products there. What happened in 2018 so far is that prices have dropped by 90 to 95%. The average altcoin has dropped by that much, which hurts. But from a fundamental perspective, the 3 big changes were: 1, technological changes. We've had first projects actually launched that are now usable. Secondly, from a political perspective, a lot of countries pulled back the bans that they had. I know it's a push and pull. I heard China just banned it once again. So there's some back and forth. But on the grand scheme of things, politicians finally are looking into regulation. We're making a lot of progress on the political side. And then lastly, thirdly, from a financial institutional standpoint, we are figuring out a lot of the conversations that we didn't have before, like figuring out custody. Somebody like, since I founded a fund myself, looking behind the curtains again, it's like, there's a lot of the structures that exist for the stock world, the equities world, for example, they don't exist for the crypto world yet. But those are being figured out. And as those are being figured out, we're actually ready for the next bull run, which we weren't ready for in 2017.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying as well. I think the market's definitely a lot more mature now. We definitely have the technology in place that we didn't have available back in December. Obviously, if you guys remember, CryptoKitties clogged up the entire Ethereum network, right? Market was at a 850 billion market cap. So there was no, Ethereum being the primary transaction currency, there was no more room for growth, for capital injection. Unfortunately, the technology was just not available. So right now, I definitely see a more mature market, as well as the ETF. Going to the ETF conversation, I mean, I've been doing my research, and the Bitcoin graph and I was actually talking to somebody about this, and the gold graph. The gold has a 10-year span. The Bitcoin has a 1-year span graph, and they look literally identical, right? So when the ETF was introduced for gold back in 2000, it literally went 3x the value of all-time high. So if we're somewhat being manipulated in the sense of the same trajectory that gold had, if the ETF does get approved, I'm very bullish. I think we're definitely going to see a huge bull run. So at this point, we're just staying hopeful. In Hong Kong, we met with one of the most reputable funds, and they were actually very hopeful that it was going to get approved. So I think there's definitely a chance.
All right, so let's quickly chime in on that. So I think the market definitely took a healthy and much-needed correction and pulled back, right? 95% pull back. I think because you had projects that were just white paper ICOs or ideas having ridiculous valuations that nobody would really expect any equity company to have in the normal business world. So I feel like this was really something needed for us to really kind of keep on going. So this was basically taking one step back to take 2 steps forward. Because you can't have projects that are just ideas raising gobs and gobs of money. So I feel like this really was just a shakeout to take people who weren't really believers. Right? I keep on asking people, are you a believer in the underlying technology of blockchain and what it's going to do? And you have so many people who are not believers. I mean, sure, we all like to make money, but during the tough times, if you're a believer, this is the best time to be in. I was talking to somebody last night who said, I think this was John or somebody, I'm not sure, but they said, this is a land grab. This is the best, that was you? This is a land grab. This is a perfect time to come in here and just grab real estate, pennies on the dollar, before the next rocket ship, right? So are you really gonna get out of the burning house now? Or do you stay in right now because you know the future of where this is going? All right, so.
Actually, I definitely think that as a whole, as a community, as a market, as a cryptocurrency itself, we do have a lot of sentiment to fix. Because I know of a lot of stories of people that jumped in the market, in December, and it was at all-time high, invested, $20,000. Now it's worth like $3,000, right? So as a community itself, I think we need to come together and really just kind of start fixing the sentiment around cryptocurrencies, because the reputation that we currently possess at this moment is probably not the best. So it's also our responsibility as investors and as a community to come together and really sympathize, the unfortunate event for those who jumped in when it was all-time high, and then just keep on pushing.
I mean, I don't think that's a cryptocurrency issue. I think that's more a greed issue. Because, I mean, the 2 pieces of advice I would give to any person that doesn't have to do with crypto, it's like, if something looks like a hockey stick, you're already too late. Like an investment that already looks like this, it's not going to keep going. And secondly, this is the basic thing. Obviously, don't invest money that you're not willing to lose. But that goes a whole step further, because I see more and more articles pop up. I think Fortune posted something about it where it talked about people like, oh, we pulled out a $25,000 loan and now it's down to $4,000. Well, why do you invest with loans? So while I understand, for example, like I said, it's a land grab. And I do think it's true, and that applies to both investments and also building infrastructure, like building a fund, building advisory, etc. But be aware that this might take another year. So for example, that doesn't mean that, oh, price are cheap, let me pull out a loan and invest, because you'll be paying interest on that loan for like the next, for if it takes a year, if it takes 2 years for the bull run to happen. So the basic rules still apply. And I think it hurt. Like for a lot of people, a lot of millennials went into crypto. So for them was the first like investing experience, and like, wow, I just lost all my savings. But in the long run, I much rather have a lot of those millennials lose $1,000, $4,000, maybe $10,000, than what happened in 2008, where a lot of 50-year-olds lost their entire pensions, their entire savings on this. So I think, it's not really a crypto issue. I think that's more like a financial markets issue in general.
All right, cool. All right, next question. Let's start over here with Ugo. What do you think is going to bring mainstream adoption for cryptocurrency use?
You mean what type of project, or
no, like what kind of
sentiment?
actions, events, like what do you think is going to cause that adoption?
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say a great project that manages to kind of tap into mainstream, like something that people use every day, kind of. So if you remember when Bitcoin went to 20,000, a lot more people got into crypto. So we need something like a project that can kind of get into the TV, get into people's daily life. But I honestly think the easiest way is something that's very user-friendly, very easy to be able to get into crypto. Because right now I'm thinking, when I'm teaching my mom or my grandma, first of all, you have to transfer money to Coinbase and then send to Binance to be able to buy something. But if there's something you can use on the cell phone, very easy. I think something like that on the blockchain, I think, is something that can help.
So just to quickly chime in on that, who here saw the new wallet Coinbase put out? The Coinbase wallet, formerly Toshi wallet. I think it's really good. I mean, I think Coinbase could be at the forefront of really taking crypto mainstream with something like that, where you can just send somebody money just by using their Twitter handle, at somebody, at Diego, at Andrew. So very similar to PayPal and Venmo. I think Coinbase is really the next possible Google or Facebook or Amazon for the crypto world.
So what's gonna make cryptos go mainstream, cryptocurrency go mainstream? First off, I have a book recommendation, Digital Gold, if you haven't read it already. I've learned just so much, getting a better understanding of how the Bitcoin community grew from a grassroots open source project to what it is today. And yeah, that book really inspired me because we can learn a lot from history in the past. And if you look at Bitcoin from where it was in the early days till now, it's still the same reasons for why it got this far is why it's going to get to mainstream. It's really created this libertarian, anti-government, there's a cost of trust mentality in money, and I don't think we're going to see a big it's going to grow fast for sure, but it's going to grow the same way how we probably all found about it, through friends, or you just catching the bug, or if it's just spreading via word of mouth. Much respect to all the 100X team for, really treating your community so well, because that's what it all comes down to. It comes down to friends helping each other, friends telling each other about it, and catching this bug. And not only is Bitcoin a huge innovation because it's censorship money, censorship store value, but the same type of bug where there's a cost of trust is not only catching on with store value and money, but eventually I think it'll make a lot of sense for applications as well, where eventually we're going to look at some of these decentralized protocols and be like, yeah, actually it makes a lot more sense to use an application where no corporation owns all of our data, or we don't have to trust a corporation that's making money off our data, that type of thing. So I think this is just the beginning. Store value is a great use case, but I think it's gonna bleed over into the applications we use on a daily basis. Eventually, we'll get there, and so that's what I'm keeping an eye on, and constantly looking for what the infrastructure is to basically power that kind of future.
Great, great response. I believe in micro and macro transactions. I think once we're able to transact with cryptocurrencies on a day-to-day basis and not have the receiver go straight to fiat, just actually hold the crypto as a store of value, I think that's really going to give a huge stability to the market and allow users to come in and actually pay for a coffee or Best Buy, a TV, or just a broad form of transaction. I think that's really going to be the game changer for me.
Funnily enough, in the last question we talked about how all the fundamentals are improving, but the price isn't changing. And I think for that exact reason, I don't think it will be a fundamental event where a news release comes out and boom, the market goes up. Truly, I think the only reason the market's going to go up is from a technical perspective, meaning if there's more buyers and sellers, duh. But that's not going to happen from a retail perspective. I think it has to be institutional or even bigger, meaning like sovereign wealth funds. So if I have to choose a fundamental event, and it's not really like today the ETF gets approved, it's really more currencies failing. Like, for example, I know that in Italy, the euro is struggling, interest rates, have been getting a lot more unstable all across the world. I mean, especially in Europe. But I think those kind of macro events will be the trigger for a sovereign wealth fund or for a big institution to say, you know what, let's just buy up. If they have 160 billion to manage or something like that, buying $1 billion worth of Bitcoin is not that much. But with that, all of a sudden, and if that's a long-term move, they're removing coins from the circulating supply. So all of a sudden, the circulating supply gets smaller and smaller and smaller, prices go up, and then when the retail investors finally come back in, because right now the retail investors aren't really that, they're not a big demographic. So when they come back in, instead of having, let's say, 12, 13 million Bitcoin available, because a lot of them have been lost, maybe everybody will be fighting to get their hands on maybe 3 million Bitcoin. And that's when I think price will go up a lot.
Just to add to that, when you say macro events, I think you're totally right. If you guys look at Venezuela and what Venezuela's kind of going through right now, they're literally making a transition into cryptocurrency as their primary form of currency transactions, right? So these macro events, they're really starting to kind of, we're all getting an understanding of why we really need this system implemented onto society. So I totally agree with that. And for example, you have a company like PundiX They're already putting, distributing points of sales. For example, in Colombia, they're distributing 1,000 point of sales, exactly for what I was saying before, micro and macro transactions. So once we were really able to spend the crypto, I feel like slowly but surely, that's when it's really just gonna be adopted.
Now, I have a very controversial difference in opinion in terms of how cryptocurrencies will actually go mainstream. Because most people I find in this space think that it's going to happen through institutional investors, through Wall Street. And I think it's actually the exact opposite. I think it's the everyday person, the retail investor, right? The average person, and I think it's actually going to happen more through culture. That's why I always keep on saying hacking the culture. Because one thing I've learned from just traveling the whole world is America isn't really great because of just pure technology. I think America is great because of just the culture. America's biggest export is culture. Like, I'll be somewhere in the middle of Thailand on a beach, and they're playing American music. I'll be almost any random place in the world, you'll find McDonald's, a Subway. You'll find, like, American culture being exported. And I think that's really what makes America so great is it's just dominating the culture game. So I feel like if cryptocurrencies are to go mainstream, it's not just purely from just Wall Street and just money and hedge funds coming in, but getting everyday people to really know crypto, right? So through TV, through music, through fashion, just having crypto become everyday part of life, right? So for example, just me seeing the tech world and seeing what applications have really become part of everyday life, like Uber, Airbnb, Tinder even, right? All these were just small applications that just kind of really become part of everyday culture now, right? And I think the same thing has to happen with crypto. It has to really kind of reach that culture gap, kind of crossing the chasm. It has to really become part of everyday life. And that's through just regular people, not just Wall Street, getting used to crypto and having that being part of everyday life. All right. All right, so let's get to ICOs, since we know most people here like ICOs. What are your top ICOs of the month at the moment? Tether. Unfortunately, Tether is not an ICO.
My top ICOs would be ChromeAway, the first one. The reason why I like ChromeAway is one of the founders worked with Colored Coin and Vitalik Buterin back in the day. So it's a project that's kind of been, they've been working on for a long time. So apparently he was working on a different idea and him and Vitalik disagreed. So Vitalik went and created Ethereum. And, the CEO, kind of kept working on this project and finally they're ready. The next project I really like is MetaHash. I like MetaHash because it's kind of a decentralized blockchain that can already support 60,000 TPS on its mainnet. And they have all-stars on their team, like great developers that have sold big gaming companies and bringing it to the blockchain. And I think what I really, really like about it is like any kind of programmer can build on MetaHash. So it doesn't have to be Solidity. You can, Python, C++, all those type of programmers can build on MetaHash. So it'll be ChromeAway #1 and MetaHash for me.
Yeah, going along with the point of my last answer, I think the whole community is going from decentralizing trust, and I think that the next big theme is going to be decentralized applications. So when I think about that, I have a background in building web apps and mobile apps. I think about what's the dev stack, meaning like what are the tools needed to build a decentralized application versus a centralized app. And to me, that means smart contracts, decentralized file storage, and lastly, you need something that's like a querying protocol, like something to grab on-chain data, turn it into a usable API. So projects that fit this criteria right now in this moment would be Chromopolis, ChromeAway as well. ChromeAway is the parent company. So I think they have a really solid chance at being one of the best contenders for a most usable smart contracts platform. And they have already in-house built like a API querying protocol as part of their platform. So it's kind of two things in one for what I'm looking for. Other than that, I found a querying protocol ICO that I like, but still checking them out, and we'll see if it's actually solid.
Now, a quick question on ChromeAway. There has been some FUD recently in the cryptosphere regarding that. Anything you want to comment on or clear up?
It's just, my advice is the worst thing you could do is when you're a big guy, don't respond to the little guy. just let them be, and the truth eventually comes to light. So, not a concern. The team's highly ethical, and good thing is that the team was in blockchain and Bitcoin since 2011. So, FUD is not a new thing to them. Ethereum FUD, Bitcoin FUD, they're used to it. They're like yawning through this right now.
Yeah, so just to add to that, Chromaway, I'm very bullish on Chromaway. I really love the ideology behind their side chains. Their side chains handles, I believe, it's 60,000 TPS.
Okay, I mean,
So-
we all know Chromaway is good. Anything else? Any other ICOs
So for the past,
besides Chromaway?
yes. So for the past month and a half since we launched the advisory firm, I believe we screened out approximately a little over 100 to 110 ICOs. So we're just kind of, we look at we search for a prototype, all-star team, token metrics, hard cap, and then once it checks out, then we kind of filter everything. For the most part, I like Spatium, but I think if you guys don't know about Spatium, it's a hardware wallet with your fingerprint. It gives you access to a software where you can access your cryptocurrency. So you no longer need private keys. But I also think that Coinbase, with the new wallet they just launched, might be kind of taking over that market. So just becoming more complex. And MetaHash. I mean, so we're advising MetaHash and Chromaway, but the reason why we're advising them is because after doing such an in-depth research on over 100 ICOs, these were the two that really kind of met the criteria that we look for. MetaHash, I like the idea that you can any programmer can build. So same thing that Hugo said, and they're very good with business development. These guys have biz dev representatives in about 4 to 5 different continents. So they're really targeting a very large audience all throughout the world, right? So they're also going to be coming with us on tour, presenting their technology, their product, their team. So the idea is to really, and they have a confirmation time of 3 seconds per transaction. So I think that's also huge, not just the transactions per second, but the confirmation time. So I would say Chromaway and MetaHash, I would not sleep on those 2 projects.
Now, I do talk a lot, but sometimes, I'm also good at listening. ICOs are really not my focus since my fund is more actively traded. So, I mean, Ian is probably the best person to listen to for that. That being said, since I am advising one of the first STOs in the world right now, I think it is definitely interesting. So it's called Gear Blockchain. I would definitely take a look at it. It's the first closed-loop green energy network. And what makes it different as an STO, of course, if you're afraid that, for example, the SEC might come crashing down on a lot of the utility tokens, which I think is impending for a lot of them that truly securities. We're fully registered both in the US and in Canada. And I think it will be just a very interesting new approach since it's kind of like tokenizing equities, really. So you guys can definitely talk to me after that if you're interested.
All right, cool. So I'll talk about a project nobody has really talked about here yet. So we went to India in Hyderabad and had a chance of meeting a project called Matic Network. So they're basically helping blockchain scale via sidechains. And it's very similar to projects like Loom Network and Radar Network. And the team already has a product already. And they'll be launching it very soon. It's an all-star team. And we're very, very excited about this. We actually plan to invest in this project, disclosure. And I think it's, out of all the other products besides MetaHash and Chromaway, it's definitely something that we're very into. Now, with that being said, though, I want to talk about really investing in projects. But I've had people say, Ian, hey, when you invest in ICOs, the ICOs you invest in are very different from the norm, right? So you have like all these other ICO analysts, right? The top 7. Who's heard of the top 7 ICO spreadsheet? Okay, a few people. So these guys basically compile the opinions of different projects from other ICO influencers, right? And then they basically look for a general consensus of what project is good, right? So imagine if there are like 10 people on this list, 10 ICO analysts, right? And 8 out of 10 of them pick this project as a good project. They say this is a good project. But what I like to do is I like to get into a project nobody has even looked at. Because I think that's where the true value is. Because everybody keeps on saying, hey, all these ICOs keep on, there's basically no whitelist, there's no space, they don't really talk to the community, they just raise money from private investors, it's too late, how do you get in? I think you get in by finding projects nobody else has even looked at. I think that's how you basically find the Wobbies, the Dragon Chains. Because most people in the know passed on those projects. They passed on Wabi, they passed on Dragon Chain. Because I feel like if you try to compete with the funds, you'll lose. That's a losing game, especially as a retail investor, right? So that's why I like to find projects early, very early, right, that nobody has really heard of, kind of like MetaHash, right? Nobody really looked into MetaHash, but we spent a month in Russia getting to really understand the team, right? And that's when we think is the actual value is when you're one of the early investors in a project. All right.
What's the question?
There wasn't a question. All right, let me just see how we're doing on time. I think let's open up the AMA. So who has questions? Anybody with a question, just please raise your hand. We'll pass the mic around.
Hi, my name is Philip, and I'm a product manager at a life science company. One question for the ChromaWay project. I know there was a thought about how ETH was pegged and like different prices. Are you able to tell how the ETH was pegged at? How much the ETH
Yes,
was pegged?
so I guess Dago
Yeah.
is in their communication with the team, so he can talk
Sure,
about
yeah.
that.
So it was everybody got the same peg. It was 284, and the whole
24?
FUD about
284.
and the whole FUD about us getting 100% of the tokens released is
Straight BS.
It's nonsense. I don't know who's.
That's the advisor.
No, that's absolutely right. Everyone has the exact same terms, and no SAT has been basically signed by both parties. And in general, it's crypto. There's absolutely no guarantees for how a project will perform or execute at all. It's just a matter of fact. You really don't know how the markets will perform. Just all we can do is use what information is available to us to make our best judgment. But yeah, you never know. Anything could happen. So.
Thank you.
Right.
Go ChromaWay.
Next question.
There's been a trend with reverse ICOs where they already have a business and then they're decentralizing their business. Do you think that trend will continue, and do you think it'll help the overall, ICO market because they're already generating revenue? It's not just an idea, it's like a business with a plan, and they're...
Yeah, so the question is reverse ICOs. Thoughts on it?
I can take that because I was an early investor in Everpedia, and they actually did exactly that. They didn't do an ICO, they did an airdrop. But I think honestly it's very powerful, just because that's what will get us to get going mainstream. Because for example, like Everpedia, I think they already have like 6-7 million active users a month, which means now all these people are using cryptocurrency to engage with the site they've already been using. And I guess that's one of the reasons why EOS and Block One has been pushing pretty hard and doing pretty well, because they look for a lot of these projects like Everpedia, like Testloop, that are already have established businesses, and let's find a way to decentralize them. And to an extent, I think it's more effective just because we're not doing that white paper dream kind of thing where we go from zero, raise 100 million, and then let's figure this thing out. But much rather, it's like we have a real business that actually could be worth 20 million, 50 million, you name it. And let's decentralize it, remove the team from it, and give it to the community.
Okay, so I just think our research needs to be actually more intensive now than it was before. So, for example, maybe about a year ago, none of us really saw a prototype from Power Ledger or from, let's say Aventus, right? So as the market has transitioned, so has been our research strategy. So I would say it's just now a more in-depth research process to make sure that these companies, they're actually profitable.
Hold up. I just can't let that slide. Power Legend did have a proof of trial, and Aventus did have a prototype.
Did you see it? Ecosystem.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. Like, now the space is so saturated, even for protocols, that you can't really invest in anything without really getting an idea of what you're investing in. Right, so like if I could go back last year, I would have asked Wanchain for a demo. All right, maybe I could have saved me some money. But anyway, you had a question? Yeah, what are your thoughts on Wanchain? I think the team is in this dysfunction. Really? All right, people, just in left the company, right? Yeah, he's doing his own ICO with his dad. I just think they could have managed things better, but that's neither here nor there, right? Anyway, back to the question about reverse ICOs. I'm not really a fan of the term, or even just the whole action. I think, to me, it seems like a failed company trying to slap blockchain onto their business to make some money. And I think, I haven't looked at the actual data, but out of all the ICOs I've looked at or done that had reverse ICOs, they haven't done well. All right, I mean, like, for example, just even, Mike, can you pass him the mic? Yeah, a couple? Which ones?
I don't want to show our own client, but yesterday we had a first pre-sale round. The max cap was 2,000 Ethereum. It sold out in like 13 minutes.
No, but that's the issue right there, right? You're saying success is reaching your hard cap.
But then
Yes, it's successful for the entrepreneur, for the team, but for the investors, that's not success. Success is the ROI, right? I'm speaking from the investor perspective.
Okay.
I mean, every ICO that is down 95% was successful if they reached a hard cap, but the people holding those bags are not successful, right? So I'm not talking about your perspective, I'm talking about the investor's perspective,
Right.
Right? Because I think of projects like Kin, with Kick ICO, right? I don't know what the hell they are now, right? Or Unicorn and other projects. So you have all these failed projects just trying to pivot to the blockchain, slapping a blockchain tech to it and saying, here, give us your money. And then they don't do anything. Especially the ICOs in the US, because they're very scared of getting onto exchanges because of SEC. Right? So I would definitely avoid all the reverse ICOs in the US.
Yeah, I definitely misunderstood what you meant with reverse ICO. So the ones I was talking about, they didn't raise any money like through a private sale or through ICO. They just, I understood reverse meaning they basically airdropped it for free to their users. So I think it's cool if actual real companies switch to the blockchain, but not as like a tactical move to raise 20 million, because we heard that with whether it's Kodak or I think even Atari is going down that route. It's just like old dinosaurs trying to making a lot of extra money by using the word ICO. So no, that one I'm not necessarily on board on, especially because those blockchains usually are not really integrated into any of their services. It's just like, here's a token.
And reverse ICOs. So even for big companies like Google, Facebook, and really any company, it's so hard to focus on 2 things at once or 3 things at once. So when I see a company focusing on doing something in blockchain plus having customers and having revenue, it's like literally splitting their focus right down the middle, which is a big red flag. If they can pull it off and they're successful, they're really doing something, the tech is actually really good, sure, then absolutely, yeah, a reverse ICO can be successful. But for the most part, they don't get it, where it's like, we're really giving valuations, these tokens are coming, are open source projects, right? And revenues is really something that is like totally unrelated. Tokens are access to a product, but it's like pretty much cutting the company's focus down the middle. And to be honest, it seems like a lot of them are really trying to take advantage of the liquidity opportunity, the fundraising market, that type of thing. So that's the part of there's a lot of excitement in this space, but a lot of red flags with companies that are just taking advantage of that. So I really look for just purely open source, really strong tech projects. I'm an advisor to CoreChain. They had 1.5 years of code written prior to meeting them. That really stood out to us. Same with MetaHash. It's really legit. Lots and lots of code written. It works. So yeah, before I get excited about any project, first thing is code review. And you look at a lot of reverse ICOs, and it's like, how long have you been coding this? It's like, we haven't started, or it's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. For me, the criteria is at least 6 to 12 months of code.
Yeah, I'll just be short. I think a lot of reverse ICOs, I think they just tried raising money just because the ICO market was a gold rush. So try to get money that way. Because I'm thinking if a company is already profitable and they need blockchain application, you don't need to raise money. You can use the profit you've made to airdrop and integrate something in blockchain. Because I don't think IBM had an ICO and some big corporations. So you can still integrate blockchain without, doing an ICO. So could be a money grab, I think, too.
Yep.
All right, next question.
I guess I have two questions and just some background for that. So back in 2017, people started noticing crypto. It got some mainstream attention. Then in 2018, the SEC starts taking things very seriously, looking into it. You have some arrests. And you have, I'm not sure how many of you are actually following SEC actions being filed, but there are tons of actions being filed every single day. It seems like 2019 is going to be the year where there's a huge fallout. A lot of people go to jail for illegally issuing securities and for committing fraud. I guess my two questions then are, do you at all engage with ICOs that take on unaccredited investors and non-accredited investors? And then the second question is, what do you think the implication is for the general cryptocurrency ecosystem as the fallout happens? That is, will it be a good catharsis and good for the ecosystem in the end with growing pains, or what is your interpretation?
Who wants to take that? I guess what I would say is two things. One, I do think there's going to be a move towards security tokens, just because anybody who's starting the idea of like doing an ICO now, it's just so much safer because you're going through all this trouble, you're going through all this marketing and all the work that's going into launching a token. You might as well do it right. And I know there's more paperwork to be done, and there's there's just more steps to it. But I think that will be the standard moving forward. I personally wouldn't invest into an ICO that takes unaccredited investors, because already in 2017, I thought it was pretty standard that you need to be accredited, at least in the US. I mean, that's the main country that cares about the accreditation. Everywhere else, it's usually shorter lockups. You don't need to have the same, I guess, wealth levels. So from that perspective, sure, I think a lot of people will go to jail and stuff like that, but I don't think it will set us back. I think in the grander scheme of things, I think the US will probably start rethinking that, like the whole accredited investor status, just because that conversation already started in 2013 with the Jobs Act, where we opened up investing into startups to, you could say blue-collar workers, where they can, for example, invest, I think, up to $6,000 depending on how much they make a year, just because I think it's fair, because I think there's an underlying issue if we limit those kind of investments. While I understand the high risk, they're also high return to the small demographic where essentially it just makes the rich richer.
Yeah, so I'll just add on to that. So I think that's a question more for US ICOs. I think most ICOs now, the typical protocol is not to take US investors, which is really where that criteria actually applies to. So, and for us, we don't really, at least for me recently, I don't really like to invest in US ICOs anyway, because they have so much compliance they have to go through, and they aren't really so liquid. Next question? In terms of how that will affect the entire community, I mean, if that does happen, I mean, I can't really predict the future like that, but if it does happen, there definitely will be a sting to the community. I'm pretty sure more people will probably get out of it. There'll be a huge shakeout, similar to other big events. Okay, let's pass the mic around, please.
Yeah, my name is Michael, and I run a blockchain project called Education Ecosystem. We finished our ICO run 1 with 12 million, and we're going to do the ICO run 2 next year. I just want to ask about something, because like when we started doing our ICO, I was pretty naive, right? So I was like, okay, so we go to this website, we get a review about our project. They're going to really review it, like, in terms of the viability of the project. Okay, hey, we went through a Y Combinator of our company, we did this and this, and I just realized that's totally bullshit, right? All these guys just want to get paid. And they want to get paid to get a review. Hey, how much is it? Like 10K. Like, you send 2 BTC, you get a good review. And I'm not talking about websites that are like a small website. They are really like the top-notch websites, right? That are in the industry that people go to review like ICOs, right? Read about ICOs. And I just discovered also like YouTube reviews. Like, most of it is paid. I don't mind that it is paid, right? But most of the time I see that, okay, the person like reviewing the project is fully paid, and he doesn't disclose it. So I just want to ask you, as somebody who's like, who's experienced in this space, how do you handle it, right? How do you kind of like handle it, a paid review? And how do you think it's affecting the whole industry that, for example, if you want to get on Cointelegraph, they're asking now like 12K, which is ridiculous.
Oh, really?
For a normal article, all the companies and all the projects I know are paying for it, right? All the projects are paying for it. Even all the simple articles that looks like a normal objective article is paid, right? So.
Yeah, very good question.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you kind of deal with people being paid in this space for reviewing ICOs or covering ICOs? I mean, for me personally, right, I don't get paid to review any ICOs, right? I mean, there are some people out there spreading FUD, but I've never been paid to review an ICO, and that's factual. I mean, that is a legally binding statement, especially me being in America, that is legally binding, right? So I think, especially for American influencers or people covering ICOs, right, they have to really be familiar with the jurisdiction they're in and the laws of what you have to do, right? It's illegal from both the FTC perspective, as somebody who does sponsored products or reviews, to not disclose any conflicts of interest. Then also with the SEC as well, not disclosing any conflicts of interest, right? That's why I was very transparent with everything, right? I had my open source spreadsheet, had the price I got in, the price I was selling, right? For me, it was just really trying to be very transparent and not really get caught up in any legal snafu, right? In terms of how other people do it, I think most people who have those kinds of issues are, for the most part, outside of America. Maybe they're somewhere in some jurisdiction where, whatever goes happens, right? But I think every influencer should definitely disclose any conflict of interest, right? I know people have gotten in trouble for it in the past. Some other big name influencers, right? I think DataDash had some ICO he covered, and he had to kind of come out, huh? Substratum, right? So, huh? Trevon James too. That's why, I mean, for me, the only payments I take are the ICOs I advise, right? And that list is on my site, right? And when I was doing everything, I told people exactly how much they paid me. I asked for 1% to 2% of tokens, right? And I think that to me, although it wasn't quite the norm for other advisors, right? I don't know any advisor who discloses how much they earn. But for me, it was just really just trying to be transparent and honest. And I think that's kind of how I built my audience up, was just sharing everything and being transparent. And I think more influencers and people covering ICOs should do that. But I don't think, to be honest, that's going to happen, because there are some things that aren't really positive from doing that, like security. Right? Like for those who know, I was hacked from being too transparent. Right? So it's kind of trying to go back and forth and trying to figure out what exactly is the best option. But I think influencers should be very cautious with what they're doing.
Yeah, so I've personally, experienced it on a micro scale as well. Being a managing partner at 100x Advisors, people just kind of send me emails or slide in my DMs, and the beginning topic of conversation is really, hey, we're willing to give you this much value, USD, for a connection to Ian, for a paid review, so on and so forth. And the question is, how do you handle it? You just immediately turn them down. So publicly, I would like to say I've never been paid. Or Ian has never been paid as well, just to confirm that.
Yeah, and just wanted to mention that something that's just so important with the crypto community is just really an attitude of, I think, generosity, giving. I mean, to me, it all comes back to even just like the open source Bitcoin software contributions, really just people just paying it forward and being generous and transparent. And so I've been a fan of Ian for over a year. He's been doing an awesome job documenting his journey from the first, what is ICO's video explaining it, and just being transparent with documenting his journey. And paid reviews, it's absolutely toxic for the space. If anyone's doing it, I hope they get exposed. And that's another thing good about crypto, is that the bad things get exposed pretty quickly. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people, come up with their own crazy ideas, but can honestly say, yeah, everything is absolutely 1,000% true. Diego, Ian, Ugo, yeah, everyone does not get paid for a review or get even paid to talk to an ICO. Yeah.
I'll go after you.
I would also say I actually think paid reviews over time, I think it's going to be very difficult, because if people are following someone that's constantly reviewing bad projects, they would move on. And with the way, I mean, I believe in April, any kind of project, bad projects, everything just kind of did well, even scams. But I think this big correction will really differentiate the good projects from the bad projects. I think naturally, people that are getting paid reviews will not have a career.
And just to add on to that, so I think that's how I also, for the most part, built my brand, right? Because I joined this space after there were big media companies out there. There was CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, all these other media companies. But they weren't really so influential when it comes to covering an ICO. Who's here has heard of the Ian Balina effect? All right? Who's been a victim of the Ian Balina effect? Who has benefited from the Ian Balina effect, right? And the reason the Ian Balina effect came about was because you had all these other media companies that were just really just reposting PR articles for projects, any project that basically paid them money, right? And I came into this space and said, you know what? I'm just going to review this project and just share my opinion on this, right? And I think just from doing that and just having good results on the ICOs, that's when I kind of began to get a very huge following to a point where I'm more influential than, like me covering an ICO, I'm pretty sure does more for a project in terms of community growth than them getting press on CoinDesk or some of the big publication. Probably even more than New York Times, who knows, right? Because people trust my word, and that's come from just the actions I've done, and not really being somebody who's been bought by the highest bidder, right? And I've really built our brand that way, and I want to keep it that way, right? So I think it's really crucial for anybody out there trying to build a brand, right? Like all the media companies out there that just do where they just are bought off by somebody else, they don't last because nobody really trusts their word. They just kind of fade off.
I mean, one of the issues is too, like, we can't change really unless we expose them, what other influencers, what certain players in the industry are doing. But I think what's most important is that we educate the average investor. And I think two of the basic rules are, one, just stop reading the news. If you want to do research, I don't think you will ever see Ian check what Cointelegraph said about a coin. You'll see him look at primary sources. You'll see who's actually on team. What does the white paper actually say? What lines of code are out there? The news are literally irrelevant. So probably stop reading them because most of them are probably paid for. And then secondly, money speaks louder than words, meaning some people might say, oh, this is a good project, but then ask or check, did they invest their own money into it, And I think that's something that me and Ian had in common where, for example, with my academy, I would always say, tell my students, well, this is what I just bought, or they ask me, do you like it? I'm like, well, it looks good, but I'm not buying it right now. Right? So I think that it makes a huge difference if somebody's putting the money where the mouth is, and that's how you can hold an influencer accountable, I think.
All right, next question.
Yeah, hi. So big fan, by the way. All of you guys doing it. Keep pushing the boundaries, man. I love it. So 2 questions. One simple, is ChromaWay gonna have a Telegram? Like a public Telegram? What's up with that?
Actually, the guy who's going to manage the Telegram is sitting 2 seats to your left.
All right, cool.
Right
cool.
there.
Right.
Yeah, it hasn't launched
Definitely
yet.
going to get in that.
The website and Telegram's going up soon.
The second one is on, so you guys are going to bring the spreadsheet back, obviously, eventually. When you do, are you going to also incorporate the marketplace as, the Loom and the IOTEX was a good buy if you got it at
so
3
post
cents.
ICO projects?
Yeah. Are you guys going to also incorporate that in the spreadsheet or just going to keep it?
Not at the moment, but
way?
it's something I have been looking into a lot, right? Because now as the space gets more and more saturated, sometimes the better play is actually something that's already trading on exchanges.
Right.
So it's something I have been looking into. I think not at the moment, but it is on our radar.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Name is Devin. Diego, I was talking to you earlier today. Couple questions about ICOs. We talked about securities a little bit earlier, and it does seem like a lot of governments are starting to crack down. Like even Malta just last week actually announced new regulation that will start treating ICOs like securities, similar to the United States, similar to Switzerland. So do you think that it's worth investing into an ICO if it is deemed a utility in 2019? Is that still a thing, or do you think they'll all start leaning towards security just by the inherent nature of what an ICO really is. A second question, I'm currently doing a pre-ICO right now with our company, and I've been told in terms of like getting advisors and partners, focus more so on the cryptocurrency side than actually real-world implementation partners and advisors, which seems a little counterintuitive to having crypto go mainstream. So in y'all's opinion, we always talk about road shows and things like that. Is it better to have crypto-focused advisors and partners or more mainstream real-world type businesses and advisors instead? So securities and then actual advisors and partners, two-part.
Okay, I'll first start with the advisors. I think you have to have advisors that actually bring value to your business and not just the crypto community, right? Because imagine you're a startup, right? You're gonna have somebody advising you for biz dev, for sales, marketing, technology, engineering, right? These are not just crypto-specific fields. They're just business fields. So any business, any tech business has these advisors. Then, what's the question again for securities?
So, do you think that it's that people should be investing in utilities in 2019?
Now,
in 2019, because a lot of governments are starting to change a lot of regulation to treat.
I mean, I'm not really yet on the board on the spaceship when it comes to STOs, security tokens. I think they do have value. I just think it's too early. Definitely not in 2018. Maybe 2019, who knows? But I mean, right now, they're still not liquid, right? And especially if you're a large investor, it's basically equity investing. And I think most people who get into crypto get in because of the liquidity, right? So kind of bring that. I think we have to wait until we have better exchanges, until that kind of really takes off.
Just keeping a keen eye on all the latest policies and decisions. And yeah, if the rules change, absolutely here to adapt to new rules. So, if you have to wait 1 year till trading, and the game's different, then that's no problem. Yeah, I don't think a lot. I mean, they'll shake out the weak hands or weak players, but yeah, just the crypto market will change. That's how I see it.
Yeah. So the market transitions very quickly. Right, so I'm thinking security tokens is going to be a big boom, Q2, Q3 2019. I think right now we're also in the developmental phase, so we're building the structure, the trading platforms, and getting everything ready. Because once it's a security token, it's a lot more complex than just a utility token and buying and selling on Binance. And I think it's very important to have crypto blockchain related advisors. It's not the same taking legal. Having legal support from just a regular enterprise world and having an actual lawyer that knows all the crypto laws, treasury services, there's biz dev within the crypto ecosystem, right? So it's definitely important, I would say.
Is it more important to have a crypto advisor than a mainstream tech or industrial advisor? What's more important, mainstream adoption or getting the crypto community involved?
So
I was gonna ask, is it possible to have both?
Sure. Well, yeah. What's in terms of like the ICO ratings, things like that? You want to have a top team, top advisory board. But what's the preference in terms of like?
I think mainstream, right? Because when I review ICOs, I look for all-stars, right? And my definition of an all-star is somebody who's worked for a credible company or project. And I try to codify this by saying an all-star to me is somebody who's worked at least 2 years or longer at a publicly traded company, basically a Fortune 500 company. So if somebody is the CEO of Intel, that's an all-star, crypto or no crypto. Same thing with advisors, right? Now for crypto, my criteria is 6 months or longer at a top 25 market cap blockchain project, right? So if somebody's a core developer for Bitcoin, Ethereum, to me that's credible, right? So I take both hand in hand.
So I'm an advisor to QuarkChain and Chromopolis, and the advisors they look for are who can help them meet their goals, which is adoption, recruiting, and tech advice. Charlie Lee is an advisor, ChromoWay, tech advice. But if you're famous crypto advisors are not good. But the reason why I have respect for certain individuals is because they actually get their hands dirty with running the hackathons, actually helping them make really hard decisions with raising awareness for their platform. So this is a sneak peek, but Chromopolis, for example, we're going to be basically hosting a hackathon around the world for the project to build developer awareness the same way EOS is doing it. So, yeah, I mean, does it have to be a crypto advisor? Not necessarily, but if they're in crypto and they can help them get adoption, help them meet their goals, sure, I don't see the problem.
Yes, to answer the first question regarding utility and security, I would say, of course, it's not legal advice, but I think take a close look at the project, apply the Howey test, see, does it actually feel like, if it feels like a security, I would not invest. If it feels like a security and it's saying it's a utility, I would not invest. But most of the protocol tokens, they are proper utility tokens, and both Ethereum and Bitcoin passed SEC, and they said Bitcoin and Ethereum are not securities. So if it's a protocol layer token like Ethereum, then it should be fine. I think it's not going to be an issue if they raise money as a utility token. And then secondly, for the advisors, I go along with what they said. I think a mix is good. So for example, the STO that I'm advising, we've got advisors like Larry King, so like he's not a crypto guy, but we still, media, mass adoption, and marketing is still important. So he helps out on that side. We also have investing, a big advisor like Jim Rogers, he was working with George Soros, But then, of course, you got to have a core team as well that knows crypto. So I think it's not an either-or decision, because if you have only non-crypto, then it's like a lot of the crypto community will, excuse my French, should take a shit on you, because it's like, what are these guys doing? They're just trying to raise some money. But if you don't have the real-world approach either, then I think you will get stuck. We'll keep doing the same thing where we stay inside our community. We're not attracting other people in, which is key in order to go mainstream, which is something Ian is really big on.
Yeah, very, very true. All right.
Actually, I just add something. So I think another key factor is also the advisors that are on board, the crypto advisors. It's very important that they also invest their own capital, and they're just not taking advisory tokens, because at the end of the day, you're going to get better results when they have skin in the game as well. So just to clarify, every investment that we do advise, we also invest our own capital. We don't just take our own, just grab the advisory tokens and then, hope for the best. We actually work with these companies and make sure that they have a successful launch.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Mr. Clint.
Hey.
Fine
I've invested in the majority of the projects that you've reviewed, and coming in, a lot of discussion has come around as far as the advisory roles. There's a disconnect. You come in to advise these companies, and they're not necessarily taking the advice that you give them. So as your new group, 100X advisors, how are you rectifying those issues?
Yeah, very, very good question, right? So one thing people seem to forget is advisors are not the CEO, right? All we can do is just kind of give advice, and unfortunately, some projects don't listen, right? I've had a few projects I've been advising not listen. And then when they get wrecked, advisors also take the partial blame to that, right? But the way we're fixing it is, before advising any project now, we require them to actually listen to us, to our advice. That's a good start, right? But even more, just getting to know the team in person for a prolonged period of time. So for example, we're advising MetaHash, right, via 100X advisors. And initially, we did not want to do that. But after getting to know the team in Moscow for almost 1 month in person, I think there was a week where we were hanging out with the team for 5 days straight, right? But then, moment of truth came, we said, okay, you know what, guys, we like the project and everything, but we don't plan to get on board until you change their hard cap. They're trying to raise initially over $100 million via 2 rounds, right? And they were like, okay, you guys, if you actually want us to work with you guys, you have to take our advice. And they ended up canceling round B, only raising round A, which was $36 million. So they canceled round B just based on our advice. So we know, okay, this team is actually serious about talking to the advisors and actually getting feedback. So for example, that's what we're doing now. So any project, it could be the best project in the world, but if I've not met the team in person and known them for a long period of time, and if they aren't taking our advice, then I can't advise them.
Do you plan moving forward to include those kind of details in your spreadsheets on companies that maybe you're involved with, and you can say, they're open to taking advice from us?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I could definitely look into doing. Normally, I've just been candid on my videos. Right, for example, Phantasma, I mean, I've been trying to schedule a call with them for a while. Hey, Phantasma, if you're watching this, call me. Same with our Pareto network, too. putting you on the spot. Right? Because sometimes founders, they also like to act like they're busy. Right? But every project I'm advising knows how to get time on my calendar. Right? But yeah, I'll just kind of stop at that.
Thank you. Hello, I am Wissam. My first question is regarding the MetaHash and also the other company, ChromaWay. Which one do you think is gonna go 100x first? And second question, what's your comments and about QQN? Congratulations for QQN. You become an advisor for that actual exchange.
Thank you.
And what's your insight and the future with QCoin?
Future with QCoin and MetaHash or ChromaWay. All right, so disclosure, we are investing and advising both projects. I think both projects are all-star projects. Now, from a token metrics perspective, ChromaWay is the highest scoring project. So based on the data, it has a higher chance of possibly achieving 100x. I mean, anything is possible, not financial advice. With that being said, we have more influence with MetaHash, right? Like, for example, we've been hanging out with them in Moscow for a month. They came out here to LA with us for a month. We're going with them to Spain for a week, right? So we're very close to the MetaHash team. They're almost like brothers, all right? So we think they, in a way, we're kind of with them in the passenger seat, right? I mean, both projects are amazing, right? But from a data perspective, ChromaWay, from just hanging out with the team, from an influential perspective, how much influence we have to possibly take them to the moon, MetaHash.
Yeah, I just wanted to give more detail on what Ian mentioned, and part of the reason why ChromaWay, the numbers are better is ChromaWay is raising 15. So half of what MetaHash is raising. So when you think about valuation perspective, MetaHash will have to, it's pretty much, I think, the hard cap. It's easier for ChromaWay to do 100x opposed to MetaHash, because MetaHash will have twice the valuation.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize that, ChromaWay tokens are access to its product, absolutely. You can use the product if you have the tokens. And to be honest, anything could happen. You really don't know. But looking at it from a trader's perspective, the lower the hard cap, the less sell pressure there is. Therefore, it's much easier for it to see a higher price on exchanges. A recent example that did well is Zebi. I think they raised 10 million. That was straight 10x. Reason being, the less money they raise, it's the less sell pressure on exchanges, which makes it easier to go up. And yeah, just wanted to emphasize also that these projects that are now widely perceived as good quality projects and good teams, they were definitely unknowns at one point. And so it's very, very possible, if as long as you travel, go to conferences, network, make friends, it's very possible to find and uncover projects early. So I was the third investor in Quark Chain. Believe me, they spent 3 to 4 months of fundraising until I figured out that, crap, this team has written code for 1.5 years. It's much further along than the average project. It's a really, really solid project. And so I was like, I want to help you guys immediately. Same with Chromopolis/ChromaWay. I flew to Korea with the sole purpose of pretty much just meeting Yusul Cho, who's a very influential advisor to Icon. Literally just cold meeting her on the spot and just getting to know her, not really expecting anything from it. And yeah, a few weeks or a couple months later, she said, "Andrew, look at this deck for ChromaWay. I'm advising it." And I said, "Oh, wow, this is like actually so solid. Charlie Lee's on board, Vinny Lingham's on board. It's the Colored Coins team." And then I got on a call with the CTO. I didn't understand like the first 30 minutes, but I slowly got to understand their product. And yeah, seriously, there are gems out there, and there are gems through complicated people situations, people that I must have seemed maybe useless, or who knows, like gems just come out of the dirt. So that's the story behind those two projects. Yeah.
Cool. So I'm not even going to discuss ChromaWay because Andrew and Ugo already kind of, did their thing. But in regards to MetaHash, I think another reason why I'm so bullish is because they already launched their main net. So most of these projects, they're raising funds, and by the time they launch on exchanges, there's a spread of about 6 months prior to a mainnet launch, right? So when a project is ready and is ready to just spend, which by the way, this is public info, 60% of the entire hard cap on business development and bringing developers into their network and marketing, they can really just get to work right now, right? So I think that's very important. However, in this current market condition, we're not going to see 100x at all. It's not going to happen. The market determines a lot of the results. So, I mean, for 100x, everything has to align, right? All the stars need to be on a perfect alignment. But I do believe they're both going to be great projects, and they will achieve a successful launch.
All right, and then to answer your question about KuCoin, first of all, a special thanks to KuCoin for just sponsoring this event and our Crypto World Tour. Right. And so for those who don't know, I was the first global title ambassador for KuCoin. What does that mean? I'm basically a KuCoin evangelist. It's now my official exchange of choice. I'll be working with the team very closely to help basically send them all-star projects that we think are viable projects, right? So we have direct line of access to the KuCoin team, right? So for example, projects we believe in, I think are credible out of a sea of so many projects, we send them to them for expedited listing, basically, right? Now, with that being said, I cannot guarantee listings. All I can do is send projects to KuCoin, and their security and quality control team will look at the projects, and if they agree, list them, right? With that being said, we have so many things planned for KuCoin. Actually, our team tomorrow at noon is flying to Asia for a week to hang out with KuCoin team, right? At their real offices, right? Despite all the fun out there, they have real offices. We'll be filming everything, maybe even do a live stream, right? Just getting to meet the team. And we have so many ideas on how to really help take crypto to the masses, right? So I chose KuCoin as my exchange of choice because you guys know I'm trying to hack the culture. I'm trying to really take crypto mainstream. And KuCoin has the same vision. They think crypto should be taken to the masses. And being able to partner up together is just amazing, right? So we have so many things planned. I can't share everything. But just know that we're coming for Binance. Right? With that being said, though, I want to give a quick round of applause to my team. Brian and Ian, please stand up. So Brian and Ian over here are with Membrane. Membrane is one of the best companies in the world for influencers, and they're based here in LA. Then also head of my biz dev team. These are the guys who made the KuCoin deal happen. So just thank you guys. And the reason it's so special is because Membrane works with so many A-list people in this town. Will Smith, will.i.am, Beyonce, and I'm their first crypto influencer. So I'm just glad to be working with special company. And when you have all-stars like that, who have done deals with big names like Will Smith, Nicky Jams, and now they're in crypto, and they just helped close probably the biggest crypto influencer deal in history. I mean, thanks to these guys. So thank you. All right, next question.
I have a question regarding MetaHash. I was looking at their white paper, and I saw that their total max supply is about 9.2 billion, and they're selling they sold 920 million tokens in round A, and then 460 million is going to the Bitcoin and Ethereum fork, and then 460 million is held for the founders. So that leaves about close to, I think, if my math is right, 8 billion being released over the next 10 years. What are your thoughts on that? Am I looking at this wrong? Because I see that as a pretty high inflation as an investor. It looks like about 10% is being released per year in circulation. So as an investor, I have to fight against that 10% inflation. Am I looking at this wrong? Because to me, that's a little concerning. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, to me, it's not concerning. The way I look at it is I just look at the initial supply or how much is being sold to investors during the ICO, sure, and then what the total minted tokens will be ever in its lifetime. right? And to me, that's just one data point. And the way I look at token metrics, I look at several data points and then create a holistic grade, right? So to me, if there was an issue with that, that's already been factored into the overall grade of the project.
Got it. Okay, fair enough. Thanks. For
And I'm not even involved in MetaHash in any way, shape, or form, but I would just say Bitcoin started the same way. There was no pre-mine with Bitcoin. There was no, founders didn't receive anything. It started, Genesis block was one of the first Bitcoins were given out. So they faced the same type of inflation in the first 10 years. 17 out of 21 million, were given out, so to say. So it didn't hurt Bitcoin either.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Let's take 2 more questions, then we have to wrap up.
Thank you very much for all your hard work and everything you've done for the community. It's awesome. I had a question. I want to take it down to the basics. When it comes to Bitcoin, Ethereum, I know we've seen a huge decline, which people who've been in it since 2013, they say, yeah, we've experienced this in 2 days, 90% drop. What do you think when it comes to investing in ICOs? You still are going to be investing most likely using Ethereum tokens. What do you think about the future of Ethereum? Do you think it's going to be around in the community? Is it going to be here for the long run? SEC said that Ethereum, Bitcoin, as you said, is not, it's a utility and not a securities token. So in a way, we're safe in that area. But what do you think of the future? I would love to hear what all of you have to say.
I'm personally very bullish on Ethereum. I barely own any Bitcoin. I own more Ethereum, mainly for investing in ICOs. Ethereum has the biggest developer community, and that is hard to supersede, at least for now. So I think Ethereum still has a bright future. Now, 10 years from now, will Ethereum still be king, right, outside of Bitcoin? I'm not sure, right? But I think for now, it's in good place.
Yeah, I would also say, the community is still so young. Where, for example, making a 10-year prediction when Bitcoin is only 9 years old, there's no point in that because we can't really know. So, for example, as a trader, I only look at the next week. That's all that matters. So even a year is already a large, looking forward. Now, I will make a comment because I know there's some funds out there that started shorting Ethereum, and I think that's very reckless. Just because you guys know how much, even if Ethereum just goes back up to $500, which it was less than a month ago, you'll get wrecked. You will be margin called. So I wouldn't short any of those Bitcoins, like Bitcoin or Ethereum. I think Bitcoin can remain kind of like the reserve currency of crypto, just because almost everything is traded against it. But from a utility perspective, as an actual currency, I've seen more people use Ethereum than Bitcoin. If, for example, let's say I have a contractor out in China, maybe I'll pay them in Ethereum. Or if I want to send money to a friend, I'll send in Ethereum. If I want to send money from one exchange to another, I use Ethereum. So I don't think it's going to go anywhere because, yes, Ethereum might be competing with EOS or Neo as a smart contract platform, but from an actual using it as a cryptocurrency, so to say, I don't think anybody is competing with Ethereum right now.
So I have one of my favorite books is 0 to 1, Peter Thiel, and the $1 Million Idea. For me, that I took away from it was the concept of a network effect, and that's how you create a monopoly. The basic idea is the more customers, the more people that come to use a product, the better it gets. And it just doesn't apply to social networks like Facebook and Instagram, but it also applies to open source communities like Ethereum, adoption of Ethereum via ICOs. That's a network effect in it of itself. So there's already a network effect going on right now with basically doing ICOs and entrepreneurs creating ICOs, and it's only pretty much getting started. It may seem like it's taking a hard crash right now, but actually ICOs really enable entrepreneurs in ways that are much unique than traditional VC. We're really funding a lot more projects and letting a lot more entrepreneurs try and fail. And so to me, it's just getting started. For this use case, for sure, ICOs, I think Ethereum is going to be the ultimate winner. But I think there's a lot of contenders coming for its place for, who's going to be the better dApp platform. So it could be EOS, I think the Chromopolis team is really smart. A lot of Alex Mizrahi's work, or at least some of it, is in the Casper spec. He's been in blockchain forever. So I think they're a solid contender for being one of the dApp use case for smart contracts. But for ICOs, yeah, Ethereum has already taken off. And in my opinion, the price is $270, $260 today. I mean, these markets are just extremely fragile. I think, in my opinion, it's just the faster it goes down, the faster it can rocket back up. And the lower it goes, probably the higher it can go on its way up. So yeah, I think just there's also another $1 million tip you can get here. It's just wait and hold. I think it'll rock back up.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say definitely they're here to stay, especially Bitcoin. The reason why I say Bitcoin is there's an ETF pending approval, and once that goes, then Bloomberg and all these channels are gonna cover it. So average retail investors to get into crypto would learn about Bitcoin first. So it sounds like that one's not going anywhere. Ethereum has a great use case as well, just in terms of, smart contract, and they have huge community. So I would say unless, somehow Ethereum fails at something or breaks down and another project rises up to the challenge, I would say Ethereum probably will be there for a long time as well.
All right, thank you. All right, guys, we gotta do the giveaway now. So please look under your seats. There should be a number. All right, and we will call out 8 random numbers between 1 and 150. All right, we'll have the panel of judges or speakers pick a number between 1 and 150. All right, so if you have the number, you will please stand up and come to Flo over here, over there in the corner, and he will give you limited edition merch for a Diary of a Made Man brand. All right, so Ugo, pick a number between 1 and 150.
100.
Who has the number 100? All right, please stand up. How to gang. Yeah, so please go over there with Floris in the corner and pick up your merch. All right, Andrew?
28.
Who has the number 28? Nobody? Okay, all right. Let's go with 21. 21, all right, congratulations. Please take your number to
number
Flo
7.
in the corner.
7? Nobody?
Anybody with a number 7?
No. Number 10.
No, hey, one number at a time.
7?
All right.
Is there 7? No? All right. 54.
Okay.
54?
54? In
right,
the back?
cool.
All right, congratulations. That is 3 people. All right. Felix?
74. Nobody? 24. 29. Hey.
All right. How about 88? 88 in the back? All right, congratulations. So how many do we have that? Flo, how many do we have so far? You can pick like 4 more. 4 more? All right. 30? Who has the number 30? Who has 99? 99, congratulations. You are a winner. 62? Who has the number 1? Triple digits. 150. Bingo? 130. 101. 110. 140. 140. 132. 117. All right. Hey, let me just hold this up for people to see what this guy got. Here, let me. Drew's in Berlin, but for people at home on the live stream, look at this limited edition poster, Moon Lambo poster. Just in case you forget, guys, just in case you ever forget, the moon is not the limit. All right? Congratulations. Oh, he has a smaller one. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Floris, and thank you guys for everyone who won. All right. With that being said, we have to get out of here. There is time to take some pictures, so if you have any pictures, or if you want any selfies with us and the whole crew here, just please line up. Where's a good place? In the back corner over there. All right? Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Los Angeles. Woo! Worldwide on the moon. Made man, baby.
And it's close, yeah, but do a day, cause it's time to pause. She light up like an angel from my eyes and toes. 120 miles down the highway roads, then I take cold. I'm your hero. Travel around the globe, but it's solo though. Need someone to hold who is gullible. Need a hero. When we take a ride, it's a whoa. Needing out the side, take a photo though. I wanna be a hero to you. Quiero ser el héroe tuyo. And you can tell me where to go to. Y vamos a viajar el mundo. Cause I wanna be a hero to you. Mamacita eres hermosa, sos una diosa. I know you want a hero for you in your life. You can see the sky, I can see your why. You and me tonight, be alive. This could be your life, say it be alright. Do or die, you can feel the vibe, you can see the ride. But I need to see your sign, breathe and kiss and fly. Mamacita, eres toda para mí, eres única. Eres única y mamacita, ven aquí para mí, eres única, eres única. I wanna be a hero to you. Quiero ser el héroe tuyo. And you can tell me where to go to. Y vamos a viajar el mundo. Cause I wanna be a hero to you. Mamacita eres hermosa, sos una diosa. I know you want a hero for you in your life.
Mami, en el rojo. Me andan diciendo que estás buscando un héroe. Vámonos. Que te saca a pasear todos los sábados en el rojo. Hermoso. Quiero que sepa que eres la mujer más hermosa que he conocido en mi vida. Quiero viajar al mundo y hacerte reír todos los días al amanecer. Preciosa. Solo dime a dónde quieres ir y viajamos first class. Let go.
Mamacita, eres toda para mí, eres única y mamacita, ven aquí para mí, eres única. I wanna be a hero to you. Quiero ser el héroe tuyo. And you can tell me where to go to. Y vamos a viajar el mundo. Cause I wanna be a hero to you. Mamacita eres hermosa, sos una diosa. I know you want a hero for